So this little episode is going to be a discussion around Mercury retrograde. So I'm going to give you a disclaimer. I'm not an astrologer yet. I am in a Hellenistic astrology class with Nightlight Astrology, which is the core of astrology, where it came from based on ancient practices and how it was intended to be used, so that we can go into the evolution with it and how we want to use it, but where the core is at, the core beliefs, the philosophers that were behind it, Mesopotamia and Sumeria, like learning all of that stuff. So astrology has been just this beautiful inspiration for me for the last 3 years now, since ayahuasca in October through that year. I was learning a lot about astrology, and the thing for me is I'm a visionary. So I'm clairvoyant. I have a lot of clairs. So anyways, let's not get into that. But so I see things. So when I was hanging out with Maru Matu and I want to say his real name. Spiritual bodybuilder. I can't say his first name for some reason. Anyways, that was all astrology, and I would pull cards and they would do readings and stuff, but I could see the astrology. I can see Saturn. I can see like Venus, like different colors, etc. So it's been bugging me to learn it. I want to understand astrology so that I can prepare for energies as they're coming up. I can see them, because ultimately, so my bestie does astrology, and she's like, she would call me and she goes, tell me your energy a little bit, because about 3 days before an aspect comes in, I'm already feeling the energy. So how do we prepare for these energies if we don't know what they are? That's the value of astrology. It's a map of these energies. So you don't have to understand a whole lot, but I'm going to hopefully explain a little bit to you so that you can follow along when these things come up. So this year, we have 4 Mercury retrogrades that are happening in the annual year of 2022. So Mercury retrograde happens every 3.5 months. And in this calendar year, we'll be having 4. So yeah, that's why it feels like it's always, right? So this year, Mercury retrograde comes in on January 14th and goes through February 3rd. We do have the shadow period. That's why I felt like it was important to talk about this now. We have that shadow period where we start to feel the effects of it beforehand. So we have Mercury in 10 degrees of Aquarius on January 14th. We have Mercury square Uranus in Taurus. So a square is like 2 partners meeting in a dojo and doing the bow. We're opposite of one another in a way. We're conflicting. So Mercury is understood to be the vehicle of which, or the aspect of communication, how we communicate, how we try to be seen, and also how we interpret information. So I want you to think of all the different ways in which we communicate. We talk, we sing, we touch. And what is communication, right? Truly, what is information? Information is light. What is light but electricity? What is electricity but electronics? So electronics, if you look at it in that viewpoint, as in light, our electronics are affected or used for communication. So therefore, that's one of the urban myths when they talk about, well, I'm not going to say urban myths on that one. Hold on. So we have all different forms of travel in addition to communication. So like I was saying, what is communication? So communication is the things in which we use our cell phone, we use our computers, we use the internet and the Wi-Fi. I want you to think of travel in airplanes, right? So not only is the airplane in the air, but we have radio waves, air traffic control. That's why flights. And think of the ticker boards that show us the information up there. That's all electronics too. So Mercury, known for communication, when you say retrograde meaning looking like it's going backward or opposite, there's a conflict in communication. So let's talk about Mercury retrograde in general really quick. Let's not talk about Uranus. Let's not talk about Aquarius and Taurus, degrees, dates, any of that. Well, I'll give you a couple dates, but nothing real strict because we're not going to do this hardcore. We're going to give you an energetic kind of viewpoint of this. So like I said, generally speaking, we talk about communication being the first thing to come up. So that would be if you sent an email and there's no content on a very important document where you need attachments, or the fact of you sent a joke to one person and it goes CC to the whole company. Or not at all. They didn't get it at all that work, and you're having a weekend and your phone is off, and next thing you know, you come back in Monday morning and they've got nothing. You're in trouble. So communication breakdowns of all kinds are the first thing that comes up with Mercury retrograde. I might afterward, Brittany, I don't know yet if we're going to have time, but I will see after. So Mercury is known for travel and communication issues, right? It's also known for relationship issues. That's the big one, right? Everybody's like, oh, here we go. Mercury retrograde, my ex called. So if you think about communication, right? Where did I write it down? That they want to connect, right? So that's to communicate. So it's not just the ex is coming back for the relationship. They want to communicate. It's that simple. I had a rule that I used to say all the time when the exes would come back up. That's why we get those, hey, stranger texts, right? Is that when they come back up, you have two options, heal it or kill it. We're not going to stab our ex, but we're going to kill off access. We have an opportunity to take another really good look at their behavior and their growth and see if they deserve a position in our life. Because what's true, no matter how many times somebody calls me for a cord cutting, we can't undo the knot of time. We have experienced a 3D correlation with another individual, and they're knots, right? There's karmic knots. And so we can't really undo and go back in time and physically undo them. We can cut the cord and the connection. It's still there. So we can heal, whether that's through our own self or through communicating with that individual, or, sometimes they come back around and next thing you know, they want to apologize. That's cathartic. You have to decide whether you're going to allow them back in your life or not, or you're going to kill off the connection. So in either way, these are just mirrors and opportunities for you to look back at things. So what to expect during any general Mercury retrograde, because no two are created the same. Each and every Mercury retrograde has a different flavor. Not every given Sunday is the same. So each Sunday is different. So is Mercury retrograde. Because the planets cycle, and as they do, their positions change. So Mercury isn't just going to come up like the full moon isn't always just the full moon. It's full moon in Capricorn, full moon in Pisces. You're going to boo-boo-hooey. So we have Mercury changing as much, but it takes longer to go through these cycles, right, than the moon. So not all two are created the same. So don't expect all 4 Mercury retrogrades to sound just like this. But there are some themes that stay constant, like the ex is coming back. Everybody talks about that with Mercury retrograde right out the gate. Short tempers are one of them. Communication breakdowns, missing information, too much information, relationship breakdowns. We talked about flights and travel. Mercury rules vehicles. So hopefully in giving you these next little clues, this will give you an opportunity to nurture any of the places that need support before this energy really kicks in. You might already be feeling some of this energy. I want to shout out to Esther, who's talking about the unpredictable stuff just a few minutes ago. So in looking up some of these things, let me make sure I didn't miss any of the important stuff that I had written down. Okay, so in particular, rather than pointing at each influence and why, we can expect this one to be unpredictable, quirky and unpredictable. So if someone's being unpredictable and popping up in a way that you don't expect, or things go shit sideways with someone, here's what you need to know, or at least focus on. It's rarely, if ever, about you. Like anything. Like I went to Breathe to meet with a client, and I saw Holly, and I was looking something up. I was trying to make a correlation in astrology because it doesn't come naturally to me. So I was trying to chase something down to see if I could find the common, something that I could strike in and just be like, anchor it and remember it. And I walked in and Holly's like, are you okay? What's wrong with your eyes? And I'm like, nothing's wrong with my eyes. And I'm thinking, oh, I don't know. It was cold out there. Was I crying because I was in gratitude over some stupid thing again? Oh, I'm so grateful. So I'm like, did I look like I was crying, right? And I said, well, I was just studying something. She said, oh. Like I was all worried about why she was worried about what she was asking rather than just answering. It wasn't like her worry wasn't about me. She just looked at me. She wasn't even thinking of anywhere near where I was at. Not it was a big deal or anything, but just a notice. So what can we do when someone comes up with, when something's unpredictable in patterning? Like we expect them to be a certain way and then they change, right? We can just detach and just take some deep breaths. It's a really, my personal practice when I know that, so your placements of your birth chart affect how this is going to, how you're going to behave in this energy. And I have some of this written down just real quick. Nothing like, you're a Capricorn, this is how it's going to be, like to your air signs and whatever. But so the particulars are that we're combining. So we're coming out of water sign, I think, I can't remember, but we're going into earth and air here, and they don't go well together. So earth and air are going to feel like a shifting energy. So it's funny to me that Holly and I were just talking about shifting energy the other night. And as I looked this up, earth and air aren't blending, right? So it's restlessness. So don't be surprised if the next few weeks, not necessarily chaos, but restlessness that you can't put your finger on. Okay. So quirky is one of the other words that I found in looking at what everyone was writing about with this one. So within the expect the unexpected, with the unpredictable kind of energy, there was another one that stuck with me, and that was reversals. And it popped up in different ways in my research. So expecting to, so not only expect the unexpected, so don't be surprised if somebody flips the script entirely, on then off. And if there's any relationship stuff going on, we might have some mind changing. So if you're an air sign, I just came up with one adjective or one quick description of what you can expect for your sign. So for air signs, you can expect this energy to be intense, challenging for water, sudden changes for fire. And for earth signs, you can expect the energy to feel shifting, and the requirement for you is to be flexible. I'm an earth sign, so sorry, there were two words there, flexible and shifting. So if you can recognize, like, let's say you're an air sign, so things are going to be intensified. So think to yourself to reframe this energy so that you can utilize it for your benefit. If it's going to be intense, then try not to take on intense things that are already automatically going to be intense. Let's not have that relationship discussion right now if you're already fighting, because we don't want to amplify that intensity. We're not doing avoidance because, like, you know, somebody's like, well, what if I just put a down payment on a house? Because contracts are another one, right? Not signing a contract, because fine print is communication. What is the recommendation if you're doing contracts right now? Buying a car, fixing a car. You just have a third party look at the information, or a fourth, so you can verify these things. Same thing with avoidance with travel. Take extra time, extra preparedness. Be prepared for a layover or a cancellation. Bring the umbrella. That's what astrology is good for, preparedness. You know, I think last Mercury retrograde, it was all about relationships. And I learned this technique about preparedness through Nightlight Astrology, Acute Devasa, Bava, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, Achuta. So he was saying, you know, if don't look at this as if your relationship is about to take a shit. Don't look at it as Mercury is about to come in here and screw it all up and wreck shop. Ultimately, if you know that Mercury retrograde is going to challenge your shit right now, work on it right before it comes in so it's solid. That's really the answer. So challenging for water signs. So if you're a water sign, this is going to ask you to use all your resources, right? So it's going to be challenging. And for fire, change. So you're going to be the ones that are affected by those sudden changes, those reversals that are unpredictable. And so for Earth, with it being flexible and shifting, you're just going to have to learn to be fluid, which is, I don't know why that's not a challenging word for Capricorn. Right? So if Earth has to be flexible, it sounds to me like a square. Right? Does anybody have questions about Mercury retrograde? Like, I heard this or I heard that. I'd like to know. And are your exes coming back? I was also inspired to do this video because I did have some of them hey stranger texts myself. Hey girl, how you doing? Some revisits from some people that I would have been interested in at once upon a time. And I'm like, what you coming back around for? You just want to taste? You just want to taste of me. You don't want to know me or you just still be here, right? Speaking of Achuta, he just posted a video. We grow through people more than practice. So that's the guy I'm taking my astrology class from. So this time next year, I'll be able to do your charts. Even though I've been studying 3 or 4 years, the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know nothing. Even tarot, 30 years with tarot, and I still learned something. Like I just learned with LL Research about the origins of the major arcana were not for divination, they were for meditation, for the training of the adept. Mind blown, because now they're not even applied the same way, so I can't even incorporate that into my Tarot 101 class. Thought it was going to be great little trivia, and it's not. It's a different use entirely. So hopefully that helps you with your navigation of this energy coming up. There is one date that popped up that I thought was interesting, and it's dead center in the middle of Mercury retrograde. I don't remember where I found it or what struck me as that, but it was the center of this retrograde period where they called it a rewrite. This is, if you look at it as a full moon from last one to for new moon to here, or from last full moon to this one, what was the evolution of last Mercury retrograde? And this pivot point on the 25th is an opportunity to rewrite. So up to the 25th, collect data. From the 25th on, make decisions. Does that help look at it a little differently? So if we stay out of this scenario for a minute, if we pull ourselves out of the energy, because awareness is key, right? Once you're aware, you now have choice. So once you have the awareness, you can choose how you want to behave. You know, whether you want to take yourself out of the equation, I absolutely do. So if you take yourself out of the equation and become the observer before you get on that ride, oh yeah, that's going to make me puke. It's got 3 loops in it. Are you nuts? It says intense already. I'm not going to get on that one. So you have an opportunity to choose in or choose out some of these scenarios, right? It doesn't mean don't travel. It just means go in with your eyes open. Don't sign the contract. It's pay extra attention. That's how we navigate. I do healings. Yes. So interesting to me, I've been able to go back historically. Came up one time where I was like, let me look at my Facebook and see when my breakups were. Was that in a Mercury retrograde? Interestingly enough, what I noticed was not the breakups. I noticed that my power times in my relationship were during eclipses and full moons. So I took a note of that on my calendars. Hey, pay attention to these moons in your relationship, because moons seem to affect me so much more than Mercury does. So this isn't something that'll help you immediately and all the time, but putting yourself in the waters little by little will help you to navigate with these little energy reports, will help you to roll these energies a little easier, because they can be a little intense and they can be surprising. You don't know what's going on, right? Why am I feeling this way? I was doing just fine. And now all these surprises. Everything's turning backward when I was going forward, right? So here's the other thing that I want to tell you about January, though. So in listening to Acute Vasa, Nightlight Astrology, for those of you guys want to find him, he's amazing. He's pragmatic, he's intelligent, he's funny, he's kind, he's spiritual, where he has like a spiritual parable or a lesson that goes with everything. He's all about love, and he's amazing. I lost my train of thought. So he was talking about the energy of the beginning of January being all of this powerhouse energy, feeling super excited and motivated. So you might be riding pretty high and then not exactly chaos, but you might find these surprises. And remember the pivot point on the 25th. Let me know if you felt like this was helpful to you. Let me know if you've had some insight. If you have any questions for me about Mercury retrograde, please post them and I will answer. To book your reading, visit karmaondeck.com for your energy sessions, for channeling, Reiki, or a tarot reading. Take a look at where things are going for you for mentorship, coaching, and classes. So let me know how you feel this reading went. Please subscribe, share, and hang out with me for a while. I'm not sure what's going to be going on for the rest of production for today, but I will catch you guys on the flip side. Thanks for hanging out.